What's going on, everybody? In this video I want to look over a miner I haven't really talked about on this channel before. I might have done very brief comparisons in the past, but let's take a look at Hut8 and look at their recent mining update that just dropped today. And I also have some interesting Bitcoin halving patterns to show you here. Recently I've been talking about how hash rate to market cap is very important, and I certainly believe that it is very important. And this company, while their hash rate to market cap isn't all that impressive, what is impressive is how much Bitcoin they hold on their balance sheet. So let me show you what I'm talking about here with their recent mining update, and I will leave it down below for you. But let's look over this. Now in September, they mined 111 Bitcoin. And when looking at their market cap, that's really not all that impressive. We have companies in very similar market cap groups that are mining considerably more Bitcoin per month at a much higher hash rate. But what's very interesting about this company is as of this update, they have 9,366 Bitcoin. And Hut8 continues to have one of the largest self-mined Bitcoin reserves of any publicly traded company. So while their hash rate is not all that impressive at all, what's really impressive here is their Bitcoin held. And one thing to realize here is the Bitcoin halving, while overall it will help Bitcoin's price, Bitcoin will appreciate in value, the incoming supply will be cut in half. As long as demand doesn't drop, as long as it stays constant, at the very least, the halving will benefit Bitcoin's price. It's all supply and demand. Now, one thing it won't benefit is these Bitcoin miners in a certain way. While it will likely increase the price of Bitcoin because of the halving, because of what always comes with it, these Bitcoin miners' rewards will be cut in half. Meaning if Bitcoin's price doubles by halving, they will be getting the same rewards. They will be mining half as much Bitcoin, but if the price is double, it'll total out to be the same. But if Bitcoin's price doesn't increase by double by the halving, these miners like CleanSpark, like Iris Energy, their rewards per month will dramatically drop. They will be mining half as much Bitcoin when the mining rewards get cut in half. But the good thing about Hut8 is they have so much Bitcoin on their balance that if Bitcoin's price rises, I do think this is one of the companies that will benefit the most for the short term. But I do believe on a long-term standpoint, the most important thing you can do is grow that hash rate as fast as possible. And that's why I am in companies like CleanSpark, like Iris Energy, and looking at other Bitcoin miners such as TeraWolf with very attractive hash rates to market cap. But that doesn't mean that Hut8 doesn't hold a potential spot in our portfolio. I do think on the short term, a huge rise of Bitcoin can benefit Hut8 more than some other companies, due to the fact that Hut8 has so much Bitcoin on their balance. So if Bitcoin rises in price, the assets that Hut8 owns will rise in price as well, and we'll see a huge increase in market cap. At least we should. Whereas these other Bitcoin miners, the big thing with Bitcoin going up in price means that moving forwards, these companies can mine more valuable Bitcoin, although they don't have that much on their balance sheet. So it really depends on where you're at. You know, do you want companies that are increasing their hash rate, mining more Bitcoin month over month? Or do you want a company like Hut8 with a lower hash rate to market cap, however, a lot of Bitcoin on their balance? Me, I'd personally rather have companies with an extremely attractive hash rate to market cap rather than a huge amount of Bitcoin on their balance. But it's really up to you to decide what's going to be most beneficial over the short term, midterm, and long term. I think over the short term, it's very beneficial to have a lot of Bitcoin on your balance, because if Bitcoin's price, say, goes up by the end of the year, it should really benefit companies like Hut8 with a lot of Bitcoin on their balance because of the simple fact that their assets they hold are gaining value, while these other miners have very small amount of these Bitcoin assets, but their goal is an insane hash rate, is a good amount of Bitcoin coming in month over month. So you kind of have to look at Hut8 in a different light. You know, it's unimpressive that they're only mining 111 Bitcoin in a month with a market cap where they're at, right around where CleanSpark's market cap is. But you do have to step back and realize they have a considerable amount of Bitcoin held on their balance sheet. Hopefully that short explanation makes sense and you understand where my head is at. I do think there is a place for Hut8, although I personally believe in going with the Bitcoin miners that have the most attractive hash rate to market cap. Others might see it as a good option to go with the Bitcoin miners that have a lot of Bitcoin on their balance. Now, looking more into their mining update, they have a current production rate of approximately 3.7 Bitcoin per day. That's not all that impressive to me, but remember, these guys, rather than selling all of their Bitcoin they held, they're continuing to hold this Bitcoin at the cost of an increased hash rate. So we will see if that really plays out in their favor as Bitcoin rises in price. I do think they'll benefit more when Bitcoin rises in price over the short term, but I do believe some of these other miners will benefit more over the long term as they continue to be relevant and increase their hash rate dramatically. That's just where my head is at. Now, the total balance in Bitcoin in their reserve was 9,366, 7,269 of which were unencumbered, and they don't really give an explanation on why some is unencumbered and some isn't. Maybe you guys can shed some light on that. No Bitcoin were sold during the month, which is very interesting compared to a lot of the companies that are selling their Bitcoin to fund their future growth. Their current hash rate at their Alberta facility in Canada is 2.6 exahash, and they produced 42.7 Bitcoin per exahash in September. Now, this company is also working on a business combination, and shareholders of the company approved the proposed business combination with US Delta Mining Group, aka USBTC. And on September 15, the Supreme Court of British Columbia issued a final order approving the arrangement, a key requirement to completing the transaction with USBTC. Now, looking at Hut8's chart, I'd say it has bottomed out at the end of last year, and we have slowly been trending up since, although recently we have been pulling back a bit, just like the other miners. This chart looks very similar to CleanSpark's, for example, where we saw our lowest price at the end of last year, and we've been pretty much rising ever since, although recently, after hitting a peak, have been pulling back. I do think this is another stock in a stage 1. It's in an accumulation phase in my opinion. We've already bottomed out. I don't necessarily see this hitting new lows, just based on what this chart is showing me and based on the fact that halving is so close. And before I go into some other things I wanted to talk about, I want to show you guys how much Bitcoin they actually hold. So if you get their 9,366 Bitcoin, times it by a $30,000 Bitcoin, which we're just a hair under 30,000, they basically have 280,980,000 sitting in value in just Bitcoin alone. So if Bitcoin increases in price dramatically, that's one reason why I think this company can benefit so much. And of course, the other miners will benefit by proxy because they're at a high hash rate and mining more valuable Bitcoin as Bitcoin's value goes up. This company, it's more of an instant gratification. If Bitcoin goes up dramatically, well, their assets become more valuable instantly. So for those of you that want a Bitcoin miner that hold a lot of Bitcoin, I think Hut8 is a good choice. However, I personally gotta say I'd rather go with the higher hash rate miners, but that's all up to you to interpret. But let me know what you think about Hut8. I wanna also go into this article, and I will leave it down below for you. And from this article, I wanna show you an interesting chart. This shows Bitcoin when it's only 200 days away from the halving. We are right where we always have been every halving. We are 60% down from our highs at 200 days away from the halving, just like in 2015, just like in 2019. And you can see that at this point in time in 2023, we are 60% down from our peak, just like in previous cycles. The halving cycles are still playing out. I'm still convinced that these Bitcoin miners will benefit massively as we get past the halving. While the halving will kind of hurt them, when you look at what they're actually mining, they're going to get less rewards, but the price of Bitcoin, because of these halvings, because of this mechanic in Bitcoin, this should cause Bitcoin to dramatically rise as the incoming supply gets cut in half. But let me know what you guys think about Hut8. Do you think they're going to outperform some of these other miners just due to the fact that they hold so much Bitcoin? And if Bitcoin rises dramatically, the value of Hut8's assets will rise dramatically as well. While these other miners have considerably less Bitcoin on their balance, however, they're mining at such a high hash rate compared. But let me know down below what you think the most beneficial thing for these miners will be. Will it be holding so much Bitcoin on their balance, or will it be aggressively growing their hash rate? I personally believe the companies focused on hash rate growth will benefit more, but I do think it's good to see other Bitcoin miners with different strategies, such as simply holding as much Bitcoin as possible and not selling. But let me know down below, guys, what you think will be the most beneficial choice of these Bitcoin miners. Is holding better or is hash rate growth better? Let me know down below. Thanks as always, guys, and I'll see you next time.